nak tanya, kau selesa bahasa Melayu ke bahasa Inggeris?
Kalau boleh BM lagi bagus. Tapi boleh ke BM?
Kau nak macam mana? Aku ikut
Aku ikut kau lah. Mana yang kena.
Insert sikit lah. Yang important tu you said in English, alright?
Boleh je.
Okay, I think Aminah, you have record? Okay, I think we can start now. So Assalamualaikum, Mudassir. We are from Com Planning, and today we are going to interview you for RSD issue, as you are one of the internal person that have met the solution about Mahala registration that day. So for the question, there are, I think, 13 questions to ask. So the first one is, may I know, can you provide a brief overview of the Mahala registration issue that occurred recently? So brief overview. What happened?
Okay, so basically, during the Mahala registration period, we supposedly to have a new system to be implemented during the Mahala registration, which is the MORR, Mahala Online Room Registration. So this system was previously, the last time it was implemented was before COVID. So this is the last system was implemented before COVID. This system was implemented before COVID, and this system, they plan to implement this system during this semester 1 registration period lah. So unfortunately, during the registration period, they encountered a problem which during the first stage of Mahala registration period, which is for the final year student or fourth year students, they encountered the problem that some of it was the website crash, and student didn't manage to cannot register their Mahala lah properly because the system crashed and the server was down during the registration period, so they couldn't register their respective Mahala on that period, and they encounter this problem, and it's quite serious lah, because it occurs to all fourth year students during that time. So previously it was implemented for the first year students, and first year students they managed to register their Mahala accordingly, because first year students, that is the chronology lah. This system, the MORR system, which is the new system they want to implement for Mahala registration, they managed to do it on the new intake students, but when it comes to all fourth year student and returning students, they encounter these problems. Yeah, so that is the overview of the problems.
So why first year happen? Macam mana nak cakap? First year okay. Tapi but fourth year cannot. How? Why?
Alright. So the current practice for the MORR system, which is the supposedly new implemented system for the MORR, we supposed to register our Mahala, specific Mahala, which is specific room. We can register our specific room kan. We can choose our specific room, and this system was on first to come basis. So yeah, and they have to berebut. They have to fight for their own they have to fight for their room lah. They have to book their room. So why first year new intake students can register using this new system, but the returning students cannot? So the first issue that we encounter is in our server system in IIUM, Mahala registration, because this system, when we consult with ITD department in IIUM, we encountered that the MRR system, the new system, could only handle up to maximum 1,000, 1,200 until 2,000 server per entry. I mean per access lah. Only 2,000 user can access the website. When we look at the data of returning student, of fourth year students, we have around 5,000 fourth year students that will access the website on one time, because they have to fight for their room, right? So basically, all these students, all these 500 students, we projected that we supposedly to project that all these 500 students will access the website at one time. So hence, that's why the website crashed. So that's why the server crashed lah, because all these students access, all these 5,000 students access in one time. When, however, during the new intake students registration period, the expected new intake students numbers was around 3,800. However, they will enter the website accordingly, little by little lah, because the admission period of the new intake students was for 3 days. So if we, for example, even if we divided 3,800 students into 3 groups, the server can still afford the traffic of new intake students. So that's why the new intake students can access the MOR system, but the fourth year and returning students couldn't access the new system. Yeah.
Okay, understood. Because we only given the chance to enter the system one day only, right?
Yeah.
But then
it's 2 days actually, but because dia berebut kan, so all students will enter at one time lah. So that's
understood. So alright. So that was the overview of the issue. So the second one is, what were the specific problem that led to the Mahala registration issue affecting the students? So I mean, specific problems. Macam mana macam ni?
Okay, I think there's two specific problems that I want to highlight lah. Led to this Mahala registration issue. So the first problem was mainly because our university's server. Yeah, because our university server. Okay, because the explanation is, previously, before COVID, our university was using a bigger type of server. I would say I didn't remember the terms, but before COVID, our university using the bigger server client lah, I would say, and the name was, I think, Google Language, I think the name. Yeah, and this Google Language system, this Google Language server can be accessed, can afford higher traffic lah of students. And after COVID happened, when COVID occurred, our university change our user into other system, which is open server, I would say. I think so. This open server is I would say a cheaper option, and then at the same time, it is the numbers that they can afford in the system is lower lah than the previous server. So that's why. And they didn't change the server back to Google Language after COVID lah, after the transition period of COVID to physical session kan. So we're still using the same weak system. So that's why we encounter this problem. So the first problem was in our university's server lah. So that's why all this problem occurred. And then the second one, the main specific problem is that the registration period for returning student happens during public holiday. Yeah, so it happens during, I think it happens during Maulidur Rasul holiday. So that's why the communication between officers could not possibly happen. We did communicate during the day of the registration period, but it was public holiday, so nobody in the office, so we couldn't push for an immediate solution lah, for an immediate alternatives. So I think that's the current problems, the specific problems that to this Mahala registration issue.
Alright, understood. So, moving on to the third question, could you elaborate on any instances of miscommunication that may have contributed to the issue? Macam elaborate lebih details. Why?
Okay. So I think the most important part to be highlighted in terms of miscommunication is when I didn't mean to point fingers, but I think these things happen between some officers in IOM lah, when we have some few communication. So basically, the officers who will be handling this Mahala registration as a general lah is Residential Services Department, RSD. But the one who will be handling the system is ITD department. So I saw that there's some miscommunication between these two officers when this Mahala registration issue happened, because going back to the server problems where ITD supposedly to oversee this kind of problems that have to be happen, because they know that our university server couldn't afford high traffic of entry of Mahala registration students, but and they know that the latest data for Mahala the returning students, the fourth year students, is 4,000 to 5,000, and it is already exceed the number of traffic that our server can afford. But they still didn't communicate with the RSD for an possibly alternative solutions. So I think that's when the miscommunication happens. And I think some miscommunication between student leaders also happen, because from our side, from student union side, we admit that we also didn't oversee this problem could happen, because Mahala registration, it is a thing that happens every semester, right? So when we also didn't notify, and I think we didn't oversee that this MORR system is a new system, so it is prone to problems. It is prone to some issues. So we didn't oversee it between student leaders. I think there's no such communication between IM Student Union and MRC and Mahala Representative Committee Council. During before the Mahala registration period. So we did admit that on that part, on the students' part, but at the same time, on the management part also, we didn't communicate with them, and they didn't communicate with us regarding this Mahala registration issue. So this is when the miscommunication things happen now. But at the end of the day, when this issue happened and we already find resolution for it, we did admit on the miscommunication part, and then we agreed to improve lah on that part. Yeah.
Okay, understood. Okay. So, moving on to the next question. How did the Residential Service Division, RSD, cooperate to address and resolve the Mahala registration issue? So,
okay. When the issue happened, with the Mahala registration system, from IM Student Union and MRCC, Mahala Representative Coordination Council, we approached the RSD as soon as possible, as soon as this problem happened. And RSD opened their door widely for us to meet them, and then we negotiate with them lah for possible alternatives for this Mahala registration issue. So that's how RSD cooperate lah to address and resolve the Mahala registration issue. And RSD also have us in bridging between these few departments and the management also in solving these problems. Yeah.
Okay. So you as a student union have to first macam mana nak cakap? You student union kena pergi dekat RSD dulu. Faham tak?
Yeah, because that's not
Kenapa
the
RSD tak?
that's not the supposed the supposed practice lah. But on student side kan, we are the one who affected, and we're the one who having that problems. So we want an immediate solution lah. So that's why we go to the RSD in the early morning after the Mahala decision period issue tu, for us to request an immediate solution lah. Because I see some of the problems in some IUM offices too, when they didn't communicate with the student representative in terms of relaying the message that they want to implement, things that they want to implement. They're supposed to involve students in their decision making, kan? Because the student representative who will be the one who relay the messages to the students, and students will come to the student representative. So that's why we see the need for us to approach RSD first before RSD went to us. Because if we wait for them, we didn't know that maybe we can receive the solution at that night.
Understood. Incompetency lah. Okay. So number 5, can you describe how internal communication was managed among RSD? You said this involved RSD, ITD, Mahala, MRCC, and then student union during the issue. So how's the internal communication going on?
Okay. When this issue happened, we urgently request a meeting with RSD and ITD, because at that time we see that these two departments are the one who involved with this problem, kan? So we request a meeting directly with these two departments, and then we have a meeting with them for potential solution, for potential alternatives. At that time, the possible alternatives was to shift to an MOA system, which is the previous practice lah that we have been implemented after all these times. So the only alternative plan that we received at that time was to shift to MOA lah, and then we agreed on that. Because we need an immediate alternative then for students to register their Mahala. So we met RSD and ITD directly, because when we want to shift to MOA system, it also requires ITD lah to actually look into this, because MOA is an alternative system for Mahala registration, right? So ITD have to look into it. So ITD have to run few tests, so few stress tests to the system, so that the same problem didn't happen. Yeah, and then after we have a meeting with them, we to enhance communication between these officers, we make a WhatsApp group with them, with ITD and RSD, so that the communication happens throughout the Mahala registration period lah. If there's any problem, kan, we can just shoot in the group, and then they will solve it directly. So that's how the internal communication happen.
So who's in the WhatsApp group? Student union, ITD, RSD, MRCC?
RSD is the one doing the WhatsApp group.
Oh, okay. ITD pun ada?
ITD pun ada. As per requested by SU and MRCC lah.
Okay.
We requested to have a continuous communication lah throughout the Mahala registration period.
Alright. So moving on, number 6. What strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats SWOT were identified within the residential service division concerning this issue? So, okay. Can you give macam one or two that you discovered?
I think because it's involving issues kan. So I think there's many weaknesses lah other than strengths. So some of the weaknesses that we see is that these officers and all student representative supposedly oversee lah the Mahala registration issue in terms of the traffic of the system, because when it involves system and server, it is important for us to overlook whether our server can afford the high traffic of students registration kan. Yeah, so that's the main weaknesses lah, for us to be more alert. To be more alert and aware lah regarding the issue, for us to oversee the issue. And then some of the weaknesses also to enhance communication lah between officers and student representative. And then other weaknesses, I would say opportunities, this one, to involve students lah in decision making process, and to involve students lah in any decision making process within the university, because we didn't aware earlier that this MOR system is a new system that want to be implemented, and we didn't know that our UIA server is quite weak. So if some of the opportunities that we see is even if they want to implement this new system, supposedly they do at least a pilot test with all the students kan, so that we can oversee lah the problems earlier. So that is some of the opportunities that we see regarding this issue, and other I would say opportunities as well. During this Mahala registration issue, after this Mahala registration issue happened, IUM Student Union urgently request for a postmortem regarding Mahala registration, and this postmortem is the first ever postmortem about Mahala registration that happened in IUM. So after I think 20 years, our university this is the first time they have Mahala registration postmortem with the related parties. So yeah, we're quite shocked about that. But yeah, that's the when we talk about miscommunication that happens kan, and it's important for us to address these kinds of problems. Yeah, but yeah, things happen, and some of the strength that we see is that our relationship with the management is strengthened lah, because we cooperate with them to solve these problems together with them kan. So it is important lah for us as student representative, other than fighting for our rights and demand, we also have to come up with our approach should be more towards cooperation with the university, because university actually they want the best for us, but sometimes when they didn't involve the students in their decision making, they tend to make their own decision based on their own assumption and their own data and assumption lah. However, on student side, sometimes these kinds of system we didn't ever want it to be implemented, and some decisions that university made, we didn't want it to happen. So it is important for the university to involve students in decision making, and it is important for the student representative to involve themselves in these decision making processes within the university. Yeah.
So I believe the threats will be students macam ada distrust lah with the management, right?
I think that's student have bad perspective lah towards the management.
Okay, understood. So moving on, we going fast. So number 7, in dealing with this issue, how did you assess the power and interest of various stakeholders, and how did it influence decision making?
How do you assess the power and interest? Okay, ini on student union punya side lah kan?
Boleh lah, student union sikit. Kalau tahu pasal RSD, boleh include sikit lah. Macam ada
okay.
tu.
So basically kan, in terms of student union, our any of our approaches of anything that we do, we our interest is only one lah for the students, for the sake of the students lah. So that is the only IMSU punya mission in any decision making things that we involve in within the university. So when this Mahala registration issue happened, that's why when this Mahala registration issue happened, we immediately issue a survey to all the students so that we want to see what are the students punya perspective on these problems. What are their opinions on these problems? So that's when we encountered that all these students involved in this Mahala registration issue, then they want the system to back to MOA. So that's one of the resolution that we received lah on the survey. So that is how we assess the power of the students in terms of including them in decision making process. So that is when our surveys come to power lah, because these surveys can be an evidence or a data that we can present to university, so that we can say to the university, this is what the students want. We have to look into it. We have to consider this because this is what the students want. So all our survey bukan sia-sia lah. All of our survey, we always assess our survey in terms of that. And in terms of if I were to put myself on the IIUM departments punya side kan, basically their stakeholders are of course the students, but at the same time they have to work on the interest of the university lah. Hence I think that's why sometimes ITD ni they didn't assess the server problems, because if we want to change the server, it will requires a hefty sum of money. So that's the cliche reasons within the officers in IIUM. They will say that IIUM don't have enough money to upgrade everything. So as that, I think that's one of the factors that leads to this problem lah, in terms of how they influence in this issue.
So other than money, I think macam nak pertukaran tu kan perlukan masa juga, and then banyak pihak, and then dia macam
bureaucracy,
bit difficult lah kan.
The bureaucracy part lah, because when we negotiate with RSD and ITD pun, they couldn't make an instant decision, because they say that we have to go through the office of deputy director first. So if the office of deputy director is slow, then the decision will be slow lah.
Understood.
So hence the bureaucracy, that is where the bureaucracy can cause problems lah sometimes.
Understood. So sorry, number 8.
Next question. Why is it crucial for RSD to address and resolve the Mahala registration issue?
Mungkin Syirah soalan ni, tapi
simply because it's their work. Because it's their work. If you want to have a longer answer, I would say that RSD have to always address and resolve the Mahala registration issue, because it is within their power to assess these problems and making decisions regarding Mahala registration issue. And it is important for them to communicate between the officers related and oversee these kind of problems and consult with them. So this is why RSD crucial in addressing and resolve this Mahala registration issue, because mainly the highlight of this problem is RSD kan.
Betul. So I think because everyone that are studying at IIUM have to must live within campus. So that's why lah kan. I think it is important.
our mahala capacity supposedly can afford all this our total amount of students.
Okay. Okay. Next, Queen.
Next question. What impact does it have on students and the overall functioning of the university?
Okay, in terms of overall functioning of the university, it is important for students to be a check and balance lah for all the university's decision. So I think that is when the student representative came to light, because we have to make sure that all decisions and all things that happening in our university are not one-sided. One-sided, I would say, in terms of bukan universiti sajalah yang decide on things. Maksudnya they have to they have to go to the students and ask the students themselves whether this system is good to be implemented or this decision is good to be implemented. So that is when the students have an impact in overall functioning of the university, to be a check and balance for all the decisions making in the university.
Yep. What impact does it have on students? Can you elaborate sikit? Impact dia, I think they have the protest, right? Because of that.
I kalau boleh I tak nak cakap sangat pasal protest tu, because the protest basically one of the effects lah of the prolonged problems. And the protest pun not student union side who initiated the protest. It is some of the groups of students that yang tak puas hati lah dari this issue. But things happen, and and I would say the protest also affect the decision making in the university, because before they want to do the protest, the news about the protest have already reached the board of UMC. UMC ni University Management Committee. University Management Committee ni is the highest body in our university lah. Consists of rector, consists of all maksudnya high, macam BOD lah, macam board of directors. So the protest tu dapat perhatian UMC, and then UMC issue the director himself ask all the ask RSD to do an immediate meeting. Reacting to the protest yang student nak buat. So that is when the students impacted the functioning of the overall university, because tiba-tiba UMC panggil meeting kan pasal masalah registration issue, sebab ada orang nak buat protest. So macam tu lah.
If I may ask, maybe you Muntasir knows about the data, macam how many students impacted? Macam berapa ramai yang hari tu datang, hari tu tak dapat mahalah. Seorang berapa macam
kalau ikutkan the data pun tak banyak pun, macam below than 100 lah, the one who tak dapat mahalah. Because mostly yang tak dapat mahalah tu because they couldn't access the MOA system, and then their study period, their study level tak update dekat iMaklum. So that is why diorang tak dapat nak access the MOA system. But mostly mostly dapat mahalah lah, but because they when they come to diorang tak dapat mahalah, and then we have a meeting with RSD dengan UMC time tu, and then they bagi tahu okay, student-student yang tak dapat mahalah ni pergi Salahuddin, walk in terus kat Salahuddin.
So
macam tu lah dia bagi alternatif lah. So okay, then we directed lah all these students, okay, siapa yang tak dapat register MOA, siapa yang tak dapat mahalah, pergi Salahuddin, boleh work di Salahuddin. And then the problem solved. Macam tu lah.
Okay, understood. Okay, number 10, could you list all the stakeholders involved in this issue and briefly outline the role of each? So you said tadi ITD,
okay.
berapa tadi? ITD, MRCC, SU, RSD. 4 ni je ke? Tapi ada UMCC nanti kan?
UMC ni kan?
UMC.
Okay. Apa tu? Okay, go to the basic one lah. ITD the one who handling the system lah, the mahalah system, the registration system. the technical part lah of the Mahala registration system to ITD. And then RSD is the highest, bukan highest lah. RSD ni the one who coordinates the Mahala registration, the one who's supposed to be coordinate the Mahala registration lah, to assess all problems, to give alternatives to all possible problems. So tu RSD punya role. MRCC ni kan Mahala punya representative. So they are the one who macam mana nak cakap, who assess this problem on Mahala punya level, I would say. Macam tu lah. Macam they also the one who will be liaising between Mahala office, macam tu. So ni MRCC punya role lah. And then SU ni on the students punya part lah. We represent students and then we assess this problem on the students punya side. So and then we coordinate, we seek for proper coordination lah with these officers. And then UMC, University Management Committee, is the one who is a decision maker lah for all big things that happen in university. Macam tu.
Alright. So Aminah,
Okay.
number 11.
What special features did RSD, ITD, Mahala, and the student union play in the receiving the Mahala registration issue?
Okay, so specific roles did RSD, ITD and Mahala and the student. I think the specific role for RSD, I think I already cakap kot, macam RSD is to coordinate this problem and to coordinate this Mahala registration, registration. Okay, and then ITD is the one who handling the system. So they are the ones who will be if there's any changes that RSD issued, they have to look into it lah, and then is it feasible to do it. And then the specific role in student union is to bring all the voices of the students and address it to the related officers in the management lah. And then to negotiate with the university management with the possible solutions and possible alternatives for these kinds of problems. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Thank you, give me good information. And the next question is, how did the various stakeholders collaborate to find a resolution? And what challenge we are faced to finding solutions?
Okay, so how did the various stakeholders collaborate to find a resolution? Okay, so these stakeholders, okay, of course we have to collaborate to solve these problems because each of the problems that happens, okay, if we talk about the Mahala registration issue, it requires all officers to involve because it involves ITD, it involves RSD, and then on student side, it involves student union. So it is important for the related officers to coordinate accordingly this problem. Coordinate, assess these kind of problems, and then look into possible alternatives and solution for the problems. So that is how the various stakeholders collaborate in finding a resolution for this problem. And then some of the challenges that we face to find a solution is some of the challenges. It's hard to address miscommunication lah between various stakeholders because sometimes we tend to didn't oversee some problems, and then sometimes we also didn't acknowledge some kind of problems because actually it happens within us, but we didn't acknowledge the problems. And it is important lah for all the officers to be more open and to be more rational lah in terms of collaborating in solving these issues. So that is when some of the challenges, miscommunication that happens, and then some of the challenges that we encounter is sometimes it is hard to I would not say communicate. Sometimes it is hard to get an immediate solutions because there's some factors that affecting it. One of it is bureaucracy, I would say, between the universities. So we couldn't have the immediate solution at that time. And then when it comes to technology, when it comes to technology, it is prone to some other issues lah. I would say, because they have to assess when we when I see when we propose to shift into an MOA system, they say that we have to do some tests first. So it is not possible for us to do it terus, maksudnya do it immediately. So they have to look into it first. So these kind of problems happens lah.
Okay, last question is based on this experience, what lesson has RSD learned, and are there any change or improvements planning to prevent a similar issue in the future?
Okay, so I think this is one of the lessons that we learned lah. Not only RSD, but I think all the stakeholders lah. One of it is to communicate more between officers in terms of solving problems, in terms of implementing new system in the university. But it's important for us to enhance communication between these officers so that we can overlook so each officers can overlook their own problems, can oversee what issue that might happen. To enhance,
Early lah kan, to
early.
prevent.
To prevent this happen. And then that is one, to enhance communication. So okay, and then in terms of this Mahala registration issue, some of the things that we learned is to actually have centralized, coordinated and centralized SOPs for Mahala registration. Because this is the problems that RSD address also. This is the problem that RSD admitted also. They admitted that sometimes communication between RSD and Mahala officers didn't happen sebaiknya lah. It didn't happen in a good way. So sometimes there's also miscommunication between RSD and Mahala officers. So that is why sometimes some of the problems that we encounter kan, such as contoh kan, kalau in terms of diorang nak wakilkan student untuk register Mahala kan some of the Mahala agreed to do it, but some of the Mahala declined to do it.
Okay.
That is when we see that there is a need of a centralized SOP lah, so that so that all the Mahala bergerak in one way lah, moving in one way. So that is one of the lessons that we learned. And then sometimes we also learn that when it have regarding this Mahala issue kan, when we want to implement any new system or any new changes lah, especially when it involves technologies in terms of system kan, website semua ni, it is important for us to do a proper pilot test, involve all students lah, because the current practice within the ITD pun, if they want to macam nak test the system kan, they will just do a stress test. Stress test ni macam is a normal test for those people, but it is not a real test lah. Macam the real test is when all the students involved in this pilot period. So that is when I think there's a need of pilot test lah among students. When we want to implement any new systems. And then are there any changes or improvement plan to prevent similar issues in the future? We address this some of the changes that we get throughout this issue. I think we also get after the postmortem is that all the officers agreed lah to involve students in any decision that they want to do. Any changes that they want to do, approach student dulu. Okay tak? Maksudnya student representative lah. In terms of Mahala ni, macam SU and MRCC kan, approach dulu. Tanya, is it okay to implement this new system? So if we okay with it, okay, what are the phases that they want to implement it? And then some of the changes also ITD have agreed to look into the server problems, and inshallah they want to issue the upgrading of the server lah, of the server of the university lah, and inshallah we will have upgraded server during the next semester, and inshallah next semester we will implement the new MORR system lah, which is more convenient and more better system lah for Mahala registration
InsyaAllah.
on the next semester. And then some of the improvement plans also RSD have RSD acknowledge about their miscommunication issue within them and Mahala officers, and then they agreed lah to they agreed to have a centralized SOP and always remind the Mahala officers to follow this SOP. So that is on RSD punya part lah. I think that is some lessons and changes lah that we agreed on.
Okay. So if I may add satu je lagi. I noticed that RSD didn't have any social media. Kan? Ke I salah?
I think tak ada.
Tak ada.
All the announcement that RSD want to issue, they will issue it on iMaklum.
iMaklum. Okay.
Through iMaklum.
Itu
And through
semesti
IOM punya
apa?
and through IOM punya social media lah.
Okay. I think benda tu macam tak, faham tak, macam sangatlah
Artinya
tidak efficient lah. And then memang I think majority of students memang refer to SU lah kan?
Yeah, regarding Mahala issue ni kan, most of them refer to SU lah. Which is
You
not,
are the main sources lah kan sebenarnya?
Yeah, which is sometimes not good lah, because supposedly the any info supposedly come to the related office kan. But we're the ones who communicate, and then these officers sometimes they only want to rely on an official sources, so things happen lah.
Yalah, understood lah. Okay, I think the infos that we received today from Bro Muntasir is quite sangatlah
Lengthy.
bukanlah, macam kita boleh nampak overall issue dia dengan baik lah sebenarnya. And then I think we can elaborate tunjukkan pada kelas nantilah apa sebenarnya isu yang terjadi, and then I think we are able to explain dengan baik lah berdasarkan explanation daripada Bro Muntasir tadi. Thank you so much Mun. Sebab yalah last minute kan. Thank you sangat. Okay, so
Ni korang punya apa, assignment ke FYP ke apa?
Assignment.
Planning lah. So apa plan yang kita kena buat lepas ni, macam tu lah.
Faham. Tak, kau bukan dah final year je?
Yelah tu final year sama dengan kau lah. Boleh tak kita takat gambar lu? Can we have a photography session?
Let's go.
Okay,
Well, we have
let's
2
go.
minutes.
Okay. Sekejap. Boleh? Okay.